What is going on, Headliner Nation? Welcome to week 12 of Tracking Trends here in fantasy football. Once again, we'll be going through players' performances through the first 11 weeks of the season. We're trying to find out those players who are trending in the right and wrong direction, because it really benefits us in the game of fantasy football to try to find those players who have the most consistent hit or miss rates. Now, just like every week in today's show, we're going to be going through the quarterback, running back, wide receiver, and tight end position. On the screen for each position, you'll be able to see their hit rates on the year, as well as their average fantasy points scored per game through the first 11 weeks of the season. Now, by showing you both of those numbers, you'll be able to determine whether some of these players are a little bit more boom or bust or a whole lot more consistent. Now, before we get into each position, I'm feeling a little bit rambunctious. I know the NFL and fantasy football leagues have been irritating everyone on planet Earth, so I want to throw some of that frustration somewhere. So I'm going to play the pessimist a little bit here and put together a couple plays on Underdog. So for Thursday Night Football, give me Josh Allen under 259.5 yards passing. Houston allows only 171 yards passing a game, third fewest in the NFL. Then, give me Dalton Schultz, under 59.5 receiving yards. No team allows less production to the tight end position than the Buffalo Bills. Only one tight end all year has gone over 50 yards receiving. And then lastly, Ty Johnson, over 8.5 receiving yards, because of course he'll get a couple dump offs because we want it all to go to James Cook. Now, if you'd like to fade or follow along, it's super simple to do. Head over to Underdog Fantasy or download the app, create a new account using the referral code Headliners when you do so. Then just make your initial minimum deposit and come play along with us. Because once you play in your first $5 contest, they're going to put $100 in bonus funds directly into your account. You can then take that free money, play with us for a couple weeks, and try to turn it in to real money. I mean, come on, everyone wants the chance to turn fake money into real money. There's links to everything down below in the description, but okay, let's go ahead and start off with the quarterback position. Once again, I will reiterate this every single week. In order to be considered a hit or a miss at the quarterback position, we're looking for 18 fantasy points as the cutoff. Anything over is a hit, under is a miss. And we'll start off right here at the hot section of the quarterback position, and right at the top we got three guys with 100% hit rates. Brock Purdy, yes, I know he hasn't played very many games this season, but when he has played, he scored over 18 fantasy points in all of them. Jackson Dart, does he return this week? And then Jacoby Brissett, he's at 100%, so I don't know if he can trend up much more, but he just set an NFL record with 47 pass completions in a game last week, and he did it without his number one wide receiver, Marvin Harrison Jr. He has now had 5 straight games over 19 fantasy points. Now, after him, we got Josh Allen, followed by Joe Flacco. How many more starts does he get in Cincinnati before Joe Burrow returns? As of right now, though, even though last week was a down game, we still expect them to throw the football a lot, followed by Patrick Mahomes, Drake May, Jalen Hurts, no surprise there. Matthew Stafford, as of right now, kind of trending in, I don't want to say he's trending up, he's not trending down, he's holding steady. And when you got guys like Puka Nacua and Devontae Adams, it only helps. Having that duo of wide receivers is a big boost, just like it is for Dak Prescott, who's right after him. The combo of George Pickens and CeeDee Lamb is absolutely lethal right now. So Dak Prescott is definitely trending up. Then we get Caleb Williams, Baker Mayfield right there in that Verge hot category as well. Then we get down to the midsection. Only 4 guys right here in the 50-50 midsection. Right now, Lamar Jackson is fitting into this section. Now, you have to think, with the run that the Baltimore Ravens are going to have to make second half of the season, that he has to start trending up, but things haven't exactly been going the way a lot of people had planned in Baltimore. Then Justin Herbert, Daniel Jones, and Bo Nix. I think Bo Nix continues to trend down as of right now. He has back-to-back games where he has failed to reach at least 13 fantasy points. And the problem with the Denver offense is you just never know which one is going to show up. They have plenty of pass-catching weapons, but they don't always need to utilize them. With an overall solid defense, sometimes they don't need to put a lot of points up on the board, and that hurts the scoring of Bo Nix. All right, now let's move down to those cold quarterbacks where we got Jared Goff as of right now, obviously with the running game continuing to eat in Detroit. That's going to take away some touchdowns from Jared Goff, going to make him a little bit more on that lower ceiling side. However, with Dan Campbell taking over, don't be surprised if Jared Goff's numbers tick up just a little bit. Then after that, we got guys like Trevor Lawrence, JJ McCarthy, CJ Stroud, Marcus Mariota, Jordan Love. Really no surprise there. Sam Darnold still down here in the cold category, and honestly, things haven't been great as of late. It's like they added Rashid Shaheed, and the production has gone backwards for Sam Darnold. He has scored single-digit fantasy points now in 3 of his last 4 games played. Then we get guys like Bryce Young, who did, yes, just have a ridiculous Week 11. I don't think we can count on that weekly. Then Tua Tagovailoa, Geno Smith, Aaron Rodgers, Dylan Gabriel, and then last but not least, the only starting quarterback as of right now who has yet to reach 18 fantasy points in a game, Cam Ward, sitting right there with a 0% hit rate. Which means now we head over to the running back position. The cutoff here is 10 fantasy points. Anything above is a hit, below is a miss. At the top of the list, we only have one running back who has a 100% hit rate. It is Devon Achane of the Miami Dolphins. He will be missed this week as he is on a bye. However, he's had at least 10 fantasy points in every game this season, followed by Christian McCaffrey, Jonathan Taylor, Bijan Robinson, Jahmyr Gibbs, Josh Jacobs, James Cook, guys you would expect to be up here. Then Kyren Williams as well. A lot of people hated Kyren Williams all offseason. A lot of people are not hating Kyren Williams as of right now. And then we get to Travis Etienne, a 70% hit rate, averaging over 13 fantasy points per game. And after 3 straight games with less than 10 fantasy points in a stretch during the middle of the season, he has now rattled off 3 straight games of at least 14 fantasy points, and he is all the way up to the running back 12 overall on the season. Then we get DeAndre Swift, Jalen Warren. Hopefully his ankle injury is not too bad and he can continue to produce, followed by Rico Dowdle, who has cooled off here ever so slightly, followed by Javonte Williams, Saquon Barkley, Derrick Henry, and Ashton Genty. Now, obviously, we hate seeing the likes of Saquon Barkley and Derrick Henry this low to that midsection. They have a 60% hit rate. They're both averaging over 13 fantasy points per game. And really, this year, that's not bad. But what we expected coming into the season, that is definitely below expectations. Then we get down to the midsection where we have Zach Charbonnet, Breece Hall. How about Chase Brown? He continues to trend up as of right now. He continues his hot streak with Joe Flacco under center because he now has at least 10 fantasy points in 4 straight games. Then Aaron Jones, Kareem Hunt, he's trending up as well. With or without Isaiah Pacheco, the most consistent running back in Kansas City is Kareem Hunt as of right now. And he's had 3 straight games of at least 12 fantasy points. Then we get Kamani Vidal, could be losing his job here shortly with the return of Omarion Hampton, and then Quinshon Judkins, kind of trending down as of right now. Now, obviously, the Browns are a mess. It's a yearly occurrence in the NFL. But the one thing that had been working on this offense was their running game. It hasn't been working here as of late, and ever since Quinshon Judkins suffered that shoulder injury, he's gone under 10 fantasy points now in 3 straight games. It's not ideal for fantasy owners, but then we get down to the cold section, the cold running backs, where we got Kenneth Walker. Looked great in Week 11. Can he continue that? I would really enjoy it if he did. Then David Montgomery, he's not playing bad. He's averaging over 10 fantasy points per game, but Jahmyr Gibbs is on another level right now. Then Jordan Mason, Woody Marks has the opportunity to trend up. He's getting more volume, but the production hasn't really been there with it. Then Tyler Algier, Ramondre Stevenson, who at this point, I don't know if they really go back to Ramondre Stevenson, can they? Because the next guy on the list here is Travion Henderson. He's averaging 10.2 fantasy points per game. He's only got a 36% hit rate, but those have happened over the last couple weeks, so he is definitely trending up. The Patriots cannot throttle him back once Stevenson returns. I mean, can they? We've seen Henderson with 3 straight games over 10 fantasy points, and he's had 27 plus points now in back-to-back games. Then Rachaad White. Does Bucky Irving ever come back? We really don't know, but now Sean Tucker is going to start taking away work from Rachaad White, followed by Alvin Kamara, who's been a huge disappointment this year, Kyle Monangai, RJ Harvey. You would think he should be trending up here over the next couple weeks with Dobbins on IR. He could definitely be on a similar trajectory as Travion Henderson. Now, last week wasn't a great matchup for him, so he didn't really perform, but that was expected, so I'm not overly worried. Then we round out the cold section with Chuba Hubbard, Tyrone Tracy, Kenneth Gainwell, Tony Pollard, JCM, Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt. I don't know if Bill can get much lower at this point. Now Chris Rodriguez seems to be the guy in Washington. And then we round out this list with Nick Chubb and Sean Tucker. Sean Tucker, obviously interesting. And whenever this dude really gets an opportunity, he explodes. They just cannot commit volume to him each and every week. If Bucky were to remain out for multiple weeks, though, Sean Tucker will definitely fly up this list. Which means now we go over to the wide receiver position. We'll talk about the hot section first. And once again, 10 fantasy points is the cutoff here for the wide receiver position. And we have two guys at the top with a 100% hit rate. It's JSN, Jackson Smith and Jigba, and CeeDee Lamb. Obviously, CeeDee Lamb has not played a full season, but when he has played full games, he has scored at least 10 fantasy points. But look at number 3 on the list, George Pickens, 16.2 fantasy points per game with a 90% hit rate. We are finally seeing what Pickens is capable of when they force feed him targets. This could have been the case in Pittsburgh for years, but the guy struggled to get 7 targets a week. Now, in Dallas, he's getting volume. He's putting up a ton of production. Then we get Puka Nacua, Rashee Rice, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Devontae Adams. Really no surprise there. Michael Pittman, been a pretty safe, solid, reliant, low-end wide receiver 1, high-end wide receiver 2. Then we get Justin Jefferson, who is definitely, in my opinion, trending down as of right now. I hate to say it, but Justin Jefferson with great value brand, Kirk Cousins back there, JJ McCarthy, is just not a top-tier option like he has been in the past. He's the wide receiver 16 overall on the year, but he's got back-to-back games in single digits. He's trending the wrong direction. Then we get Nico Collins, Jalen Waddle, who's been great since the Tyreek Hill injury, Jamar Chase, Emeka Ibuka, Roma Dunze, starting to pull the magic man. Now you see him, now you don't. He had some bad luck there in the middle of the season. If he doesn't turn it around quick, though, there should be some panic surrounding Roma Dunze because he is struggling here as of late. Then Deebo Samuel. I think Deebo's kind of trending up as of right now. The ceiling in this offense hasn't been great, but if there is any consistent offensive weapon in Washington, at least in the passing game anyway, it's Deebo. He's had 27 fantasy points over the last 2 weeks of the season. This guy was drafted as like the wide receiver 38. He's currently up inside the top 20 on the year. He is more than return draft value, and with all the injuries in fantasy football, he hasn't been a bad option most weeks. And then we round out the hot section with Quentin Johnston. Now down to that midsection. Jordan Addison. I'm going to blame this one on JJ McCarthy too, because Jordan Addison is cooling off. Drake London, he's trending down, not just because of the injury, but because of the injury to Michael Penix. Now we get Kirk Cousins back. And I'm sorry, Drake London with Kirk Cousins just does not have the same ceiling, even if he were 100% healthy. Then we got Marvin Harrison Jr., Ladd McConkey, Stephon Diggs, Chris Olave, T. Higgins. He's trending up as of right now. He's still benefiting from having Joe Flacco at quarterback. He's had at least 10 fantasy points now in 4 straight games. Then Devontae Smith, Zay Flowers, DK Metcalf. Really unknown what's going to happen with Aaron Rodgers. He does not need surgery. He does want to play. But I cannot be the only one out there that thinks maybe DK gets more targets if Mason Rudolph is at quarterback, and that is crazy. Just, I didn't say they were catchable targets, okay? Don't get all pissed off. The dude just needs more volume. And then we round out the midsection with Jameson Williams, one of my favorite late season trade targets. He is definitely flying up the rankings as of right now. Ever since Dan Campbell took over play calling duties, it has been the best thing for Jameson Williams. He has now had at least 14 fantasy points in 4 of his last 5 games, and he is flying up the list. All right, now we go down to that cold section. We got quite a few guys here. We got Teteroa McMillan, and I would love to say that he's trending in the right direction. The problem, he hasn't been consistent. That's why he's down here in the cold section. A 45% hit rate is just not that great. Cortland Sutton, he's trending down as of right now. 5 of his last 6 games have been in single digits. Then we get Troy Franklin, Kayshon Boutte, who hasn't been healthy, Romeo Doubs, Alec Pierce. He is trending up this list quickly as well. He's the deep ball specialist in Indianapolis, and he continues to find a way to just rip off chunks of yardage at a time. He has now had 12 plus fantasy points in 3 of his last 4 games played. Then we get Keenan Allen, who's definitely cooled off in that offense. A.J. Brown, been non-existent for most of the season. Juwan Jennings, Josh Downs, Khalil Shakir down here as well. He cannot stay consistent. Marquise Hollywood Brown, he's totally hit or miss. Parker Washington should be trending up, but really with the way that this offense is working in Jacksonville, they don't need to overly rely upon him even without Brian Thomas Jr. Then we get Wan'Dale Robinson. Rashid Shaheed has not gotten going yet in Seattle. Brian Thomas Jr. not healthy. Trey Tucker, Keon Coleman, Mac Hollins, Jacoby Myers, DJ Moore, Michael Wilson. Now I know Michael Wilson should probably be in the hot category after just what he did last week alone. But we got to remember that was in a game they were trailing, throwing the football a ton, and there was no Marvin Harrison Jr. We haven't seen anything close to that all season long from Michael Wilson to really expect it weekly. Now, if for some reason Marv were to miss a couple weeks, okay, yeah, maybe he flies up the list, but I just don't see it being a consistent usage there for him in Arizona. All right, now we go on to the tight end position. Cutoffs for tight ends are at 8 fantasy points, because if I made it 10, everybody would be cold at this position. So right here at the top, we got Trey McBride, no surprise there. Travis Kelce, who is definitely trending up. He has not taken a backseat at all to all these wide receiver pass catching weapons in this offense. He now has 3 straight games over 10 fantasy points, and in my opinion, is a little bit of a surprise right now. Then we get Tyler Warren, no surprise. George Kittle. How about Dallas Goedert? Because right now I'm feeling a little bit fancy, if I'm being completely honest, but just like in years past, when all the wide receiver options are healthy in Philadelphia, Goddard becomes super hit or miss. He now has back-to-back games under 7 fantasy points, so he's trending the wrong direction. Then we got Dalton Kincaid. He's currently injured as of right now. Jake Ferguson, he's trending down. With George Pickens and CeeDee Lamb absolutely feasting on the outside, it's just killing the volume that used to go to Jake Ferguson. Juwan Johnson, he's trending up. He's got 10-plus fantasy points in 3 of his last 4 games played, and with Rashid Shaheed gone, you have to think that Juwan Johnson continues to see more volume and touchdown opportunities. And then we round out the hot section with AJ Barner, who definitely disappeared for a few weeks, but then all of a sudden had a huge week 11, so we really have to pay attention to what he does here in week 12. Now we go down to that midsection. We got Dalton Schultz, who's trending up as of right now. He has become the safest weekly option in Houston. He's now had 8-plus fantasy points in 5 of his last 6 games after starting the first month of the season as a non-factor in this offense. Then we get Theo Johnson, Oronde Gadsden, and Brock Bowers. Brock Bowers should be trending up, but it's not like we've seen a lot of consistency from that Vegas offense yet either. Which means all we have left are a ton of cold tight ends, where we got Mark Andrews, super touchdown dependent. Zach Ertz, he's trending the wrong direction. He's going to need Jaden Daniels back to start going back up this list. Harold Fannin Jr., he's trending down as well. His targets have decreased now in 3 straight weeks, and most of them aren't even catchable. Does Dylan Gabriel return, or do we have Shedeur Sanders? A lot of question marks surrounding the tight ends there in Cleveland. Then we get Kyle Pitts, who could trend up, I guess, with the injuries to Drake London, but we also have to worry about that Kirk Cousins factor. Then David Njoku, Noah Fant, Hunter Henry hasn't done much in weeks, has a good opportunity in week 12 though. Kate Otten, Mason Taylor, Tyler Higbee, Pat Freiermuth, TJ Hawkinson, Jonnu Smith, Colston Loveland, Chika Okonkwo, and Evan Ingram have all struggled, to say the least, here in 2025. All right, so there you have 11 weeks worth of trends. Now, typically in fantasy football, we're always shooting for that upside, right? We want to have those league-winning guys. Right now, I will settle for the most consistent players that I can get, because that's great if you have a team that can go out and score you 160 points in a week. It's not a great thing if that team goes out the next week and scores 46 fantasy points. If I can put together a team that can go out there and routinely score me 110, 120, you're probably going to be pretty happy with the overall outcome. Because more than ever in this year of fantasy football, consistency is what everyone wants.